He threw the water on me like I was a stray dog, right in the middle of the country club parking lot, as I was stepping out of my black Maserati, soaking my custom charcoal Tom Ford suit. The sun was high, crowd thick, and silence spread fast after the splash hit me. His words cut sharper than the sting of the cold water. "This is to freshen up your poor-looking self," he said, smirking, holding his trophy wife by the waist. My ex-wife. The woman I gave 10 years of my life to. I didn't blink. I just smiled, took a breath, adjusted my sleeve, and said the sentence that made every investor in a 100-mile radius freeze like they'd heard a gun cock. "Then our $20 billion deal is off now." His eyes twitched. Her face dropped. I turned, stepped back into my car, and drove away as the world around me shattered. Not because I canceled the deal, but because the woman I once built my entire future with had just turned into a venomous snake, and I hadn't even told you how I got here. Let me rewind a little. Her name's Samantha. People call her Sam. Blonde, Ivy League grad, sharp jawline, sharper tongue. When I met her, she was an ambitious intern at Crestfall Bank, and I was already 2 IPOs deep with a reputation for sniffing out unicorns before they broke the surface. She was charming, brilliant, and full of promises. I thought she was the one. I married her after 9 months. Big mistake. Things were good, for a while. Dinners in Paris, weekends in Tokyo, private getaways in the Maldives. She said she loved me. She whispered it every time before we'd get intimate. But looking back, it felt rehearsed. Practiced. Scripted. And I was too blind, too damn drunk on the fantasy to notice the warning signs. The first crack appeared last year. We were hosting a charity gala. Everyone who mattered in finance was there, senators, CEOs, media. I was giving a speech, thanking my rock for standing by me through every storm. I looked at Sam. She was smiling, nodding, even blew a kiss. But that smile didn't reach her eyes. I remember walking off stage, people clapping, reporters flashing cameras. She leaned in and said, "Don't wait for me tonight. I've got a late meeting with the Zurich board." I kissed her cheek and let her go. That night, I poured myself a glass of Glenlivet and watched our security cameras. Not because I suspected anything, just instinct. Boredom. Whatever excuse helps me sleep at night. What I saw made the glass slip out of my hand and shatter on the floor. She didn't go to Zurich. She left the building, got into a silver Range Rover I didn't recognize, and let's just say there was a lot of close contact in that back seat. The timestamp read 9:47 p.m. The meeting was supposed to start at 10. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't confront her either. Not then. I needed more than one moment. I needed proof. I needed clarity. So I played dumb. Over the next few weeks, I hired a private investigator, a veteran named Mitch. 6'2", retired Marine, no nonsense. Within 4 days, he handed me a USB and said, "You sure you want to see this?" I nodded. There were photos, videos, phone recordings, hotel bookings, conversations. She wasn't just having an affair, she was living another life. His name? Logan Pierce, slick Wall Street clown turned hedge fund snake. The kind of guy who wears sunglasses indoors and calls people bro unironically. He was younger than me, cockier than me, and dumb enough to believe he could compete with me. But Sam? She loved him. At least, that's what she told him every time she moaned in those hotel rooms. She even told him my secrets. Financial projections. Upcoming mergers. I saw her whispering them into his ear like dirty little bedtime stories. She betrayed me not just as a man, but as a businessman. As a human being. That brings us back to the splash. To Logan's smirk. To my billion-dollar revenge. And I haven't even told you the worst part yet. Because after I canceled the deal, everything changed. But not the way I expected. You think revenge is satisfying? Wait till you see what happens when the woman who played you like a fiddle watches her empire start to burn. And you're the one lighting the match, slowly, one finger at a time. This was just the beginning. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I drove to the lake house. The one we used to call our retreat, before she started retreating into hotel rooms with that poser Logan. I sat by the fireplace, lit a cigar, and watched the flames dance while her voice echoed in my head. "You're the only one I'll ever need." Lies. Every single one of them. Her words were weapons with sugar coating. And I was bleeding. In the morning, I made some calls. See, what Sam didn't know, what Logan was too stupid to even consider, was that the deal they were trying to close through her new bank? The one they needed me to sign off on to unlock the offshore funds and investor backing? It all depended on my final nod. And I had just shaken my head. By noon, headlines started shifting. Mystic Holdings pulls out of $20 billion merger. Crestfall shares slide after sudden withdrawal. CEO Marcus reads silent amid market panic. I stayed silent, all right. Because silence is louder than rage when you've got power. At 3 p.m., Samantha called. I didn't pick up. At 3:01, she called again. Ignored. By the seventh missed call, I finally answered. Not because I wanted to talk, but because I wanted to hear how she'd lie this time. Marcus, what the hell did you do? Do you know what this means? She screamed the second I said hello. Yeah, I said calmly. It means you and your boyfriend just kissed your dreams goodbye. She went quiet. I heard a breath, shaky and controlled. Look, we need to talk. Just you and me. I almost laughed. You lost the right to talk to me like that the moment you bent over for Logan in that Swiss penthouse. Don't pretend you're calling for peace. You're calling because your kingdom's crumbling and the king just flipped the board. She tried again, softer. Marcus, I messed up. But I didn't mean for it to go this far. We can fix this. You don't still anything. I cut her off. You chose him. You sold me out. Don't pretend this was love. It was leverage. And now it's gone. Then I hung up. An hour later, Mitch sent me a photo. Logan, pacing outside their high-rise penthouse, phone glued to his ear, sweating like he just lost everything, because he had. And Sam? She was in the background, screaming, throwing something at the wall, probably blaming him for being a lousy pawn. But this wasn't over. Not yet. Because what neither of them knew was that the cancellation was just phase 1. Phase 2 was about to start. I called my lawyer. Then my tech guy. Then my media contact at Wall Street Weekly. Time to leak a few things, I said. By evening, Logan's firm was under investigation for insider trading. Anonymous sources, me, had provided documentation. Emails. Private audio. Everything Sam had whispered, I had recorded. She fed him sensitive info, and he acted on it. The feds moved fast when the numbers were that big. By the time I poured myself another drink, Logan's face was on every financial news outlet. Hedge fund prints under fire for alleged insider trading. And right beside him in the images, Sam, clutching his hand like she still had control of the narrative. But the look in her eyes said otherwise. She wasn't the puppet master anymore. She was just another puppet caught in the strings of someone else's revenge. And I was just getting started. You'd think watching them suffer would feel good. That I'd be smiling, maybe even laughing. But it wasn't like that. It was hollow. Because even though I was winning the war, I'd already lost the one thing that mattered. Trust. I didn't miss Sam. Not really. I missed the version of her I thought was real. The partner I believed in. The woman who used to fall asleep on my chest while we talked about retirement in Santorini. She never existed. And once you accept that, everything else just becomes business. The next day, I got another message. A video this time. It was from Mitch. He'd tapped their penthouse security system. In the clip, Logan was screaming. You told me he'd never find out. You said he was too soft. And Sam? She looked at him with this venomous glare and spat. You were the idiot who splashed him in public. I told you not to provoke him. Now look what you did. No we. No us. Just blame, flying like bullets between two snakes in a collapsing pit. I watched the clip twice. Then I smiled. Because the best part about revenge? You don't even have to deliver the final blow. They destroy each other on their own. 2 days later, I was back in Manhattan, standing in the glass elevator of my office building, watching the skyline flicker as the city prepared for war. Not literal, but corporate. Sam had underestimated something critical about me. I don't bluff. By the time I stepped out on the 48th floor, my team had already locked down all mutual ventures. Her name was scrubbed from every proposal, partnership, and meeting. The moment I pulled the plug, no one wanted to be near her. In this world, scandal sticks worse than blood. I walked into the boardroom. My executive assistant, Hannah, handed me a folder. She requested an emergency meeting with the media to do damage control. Apparently, she's claiming you were emotionally unstable. I laughed once, cold and brief. Let her talk. They always do, when they're losing. The real chaos began when my cybersecurity guy, Jules, unearthed something new. Marcus, he said, this wasn't just a fling. They were planning to take over one of your holding firms behind your back. They forged signatures. I have bank trails. Shell companies. There it was. She wasn't just cheating in hotel beds. She was cheating in boardrooms, on paper, in bank accounts, trying to rob me while pretending to love me. While kissing my face and leaving red lipstick on my collar, she was wiring my future to someone else's name. I looked at Jules. Leak it. Anonymously. To everyone. By nightfall, social media exploded. Hashtag Sam the Scam trended. Anonymous Reddit threads leaked screenshots. Finance bloggers tore into her. Every major paper ran the story. Top female banker accused of corporate fraud with secret lover. Photos of her and Logan surfaced in compromising positions, leaving the same hotel 3 nights in a row, dressed like they were going to a party after a funeral. But I wasn't done. I needed to see her. One last time. So I texted her. Come to the lake house. Just you. 1 hour. No, Logan. You owe me that. She replied 5 minutes later. Fine. 1 hour. I'm not scared of you. Typical Sam. She arrived in her white Porsche, stepping out like she was still in control. Her heels clacked against the wooden floor. She wore that black coat she knew I liked. Hair in a bun, red lips, always performing. Marcus, she said, arms crossed. This is childish. I handed her a folder. Your signature. Your bank transactions. Your voice on tape. And don't bother denying it. I already filed a complaint with the SEC. She scanned the pages, and for the first time since I met her, Samantha was speechless. Then came the shift. You think this makes you a man? She spat. You think ruining me will undo what you let happen to us? You were cold. You were boring. Always buried in numbers. Logan actually made me feel alive. I stood still, letting her words dig. You betrayed me, Sam. She scoffed. Please. Like you ever really loved me. You love control. She moved closer, lowered her voice like it meant something. And deep down, I think you liked knowing I could be taken. You liked the chase. I stared at her, trying to understand what kind of monster I'd shared my bed with for a decade. She stepped even closer. You won't release those files. You don't have the balls. So I turned my laptop toward her. Pressed play. Her voice filled the room. Don't worry, baby. Marcus is too busy chasing numbers. He doesn't even see what's happening under his nose. He's weak. Her face dropped. Her body stiffened. You recorded me? Every word. Every lie. You're insane. No, Sam. I'm just done being your fool. She lunged at the laptop, but I caught her wrist. Don't. You'll only make it worse. She ripped her arm free, breathing heavy. I'll ruin you for this. You think I don't have dirt on you? I smiled. I counted on that. That's why I cleaned house before I made my move. You taught me well, Sam. And with that, I walked out, leaving her alone in the cabin that once held memories of laughter and warmth, now just cold and quiet. As I drove away, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt exhausted. Because when you love someone like I loved her, revenge doesn't fix what they broke. It just reminds you how deep the wounds are. 3 weeks later, Logan was indicted. Fraud, insider trading, conspiracy, the charges stacked like poker chips. The SEC had enough to bury him in court for the next decade. Sam? She was dragged into it, of course. Her name appeared in every headline, her photo plastered on every screen. And not the polished headshot she used for Forbes covers. No, these were raw, chaotic shots. Her storming out of offices. Her yelling at reporters. Her crying in the back seat of a black SUV as if the world owed her something. She tried to play the victim, claimed she was manipulated, claimed Logan had tricked her. But the receipts didn't lie. Her fingerprints were on every shady deal. The day the FBI raided her apartment, I got a text from her number. No words. Just a photo. It was her. Alone. Sitting on the floor, hair messy, mascara bleeding down her cheeks, holding a glass of red wine. Below it, happy now. I didn't reply. Because I wasn't. That's the thing no one tells you about revenge. It doesn't heal. It just distracts. You win, but you still bleed. I'd been sleeping on the couch in my office for weeks. Food lost its flavor. Music stopped sounding like music. I stared at walls like they owed me answers. My assistant asked if I needed a break. I didn't need a break. I needed to feel like myself again. But the man I was before Sam, he didn't exist anymore. One morning, I walked past a mirror and didn't recognize the guy staring back. Beard overgrown. Eyes empty. A man who'd built empires, now reduced to watching his past go up in smoke. And the worst part? I still thought about her. Not because I missed her, but because I hated her for killing the version of me that believed in people. I called Mitch again, told him to close the file. No more tracking. No more surveillance. I didn't want to see her face unless it was in court. That same week, she reached out through her lawyer. She wanted to meet. To explain, he said. I almost said no. But curiosity's a bitch. We met at a quiet hotel lounge. Private booth. Dim lights. She wore gray. Minimal makeup. Not the predator look she usually had on. More like someone who finally realized she was no longer untouchable. She sat across from me in silence. Then finally, I was wrong. I didn't speak. I thought Logan loved me. I thought I loved him. But he just wanted what you had. And I wanted to feel powerful again. I nodded slowly. And lying to me for a year? Whispering my financials to him. That was power. I was lost. I leaned back. No. You were greedy. You had everything. And you still wanted more. She bit her lip, then whispered, I hated how easy you made it all look. You were always ahead. Always untouchable. I wanted to win something, even if I had to cheat. It was the first honest thing she'd said in years. And it made everything worse. Because I realized something right then. She didn't love Logan, or me, or anyone. She loved the game. And when I stopped being the challenge, she moved on. You should leave the country, I said finally. While you can. Her eyes flickered. Is it that bad? You'll see. She leaned in, voice trembling. Did you ever really love me? I looked at her. The same eyes I once kissed every night before bed. The same lips that used to say, forever. And all I saw was a ghost of a life that never existed. More than I should have, I said. Less than you deserved. And with that, I walked away. As I stepped outside, rain started to fall. Fitting. This whole thing began with a splash. Logan throwing water on me like I was dirt under his shoe. Now they were drowning in what they created. Lies. Greed. Betrayal. And me? I wasn't healed. But I was clean. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. A month passed. Court hearings began. Logan showed up in a tailored suit, trying to look like a misunderstood genius. Sam arrived 2 days later, flanked by lawyers, sunglasses on, no ring. Her hair was flat, her face pale. The cameras still loved her, but the headlines didn't. I watched from a distance. Never testified. Never needed to. My fingerprints were nowhere near the fire. I'd built my world carefully, legally. They burned themselves. All I did was step aside and let the flames do the work. My firm kept moving forward. Profits up. Investors loyal. I even landed 2 new clients because of the scandal. People who respected the way I handled it. Cold, clean, silent. But none of that brought peace. It was a Tuesday night when I finally broke. I was home alone. No staff. No meetings. Just silence. I walked into the closet, pulled out an old box. Inside was a photo of Sam and me from our first trip to Florence. She was leaning on my shoulder, laughing, eyes full of something I thought was love. I stared at that photo for maybe an hour. Then I tore it in half. Not out of anger. Just finality. The picture was a lie, just like everything she told me. And I was done worshiping memories that weren't real. The next morning, I started therapy. Not the soft, candlelit, how do you feel type. No. I found an ex-Marine who ran sessions like drills. Told me straight, you've been betrayed. Now stop letting it define you. I didn't cry. I didn't vent. But I listened. And it helped. One evening, I got a call from Mitch. You're gonna want to hear this. He forwarded me a video. Logan, handcuffed, face bruised, yelling in the courthouse parking lot. Apparently, he'd tried to run. Didn't get far. One of his partners flipped and handed the feds everything. Sam? She flipped, too. Turned on Logan to save herself. Pled out for a lighter sentence. Named names, handed over files. It was textbook. Cold. Calculated. Exactly what she used to accuse me of being. She got community service, house arrest, some fines. Logan wasn't so lucky. 5 to 10. Minimum. The next week, I saw her name trending again. This time for a podcast interview. From banker to betrayed. Samantha Reed tells all. I clicked. I don't know why. Morbid curiosity, maybe. She was sitting in a studio, pretending to be reflective. Said she'd been used. Said she learned so much. Said she lost a good man and didn't realize what she had until it was gone. I paused the video right there. Because I knew it wasn't true. She didn't miss me. She missed who I was to her. A vault. A ladder. A damn insurance policy. And now that I was gone, she was scrambling to build sympathy. Good luck. I stood up, walked to the window, and looked out over the city. My city. For a long time, I had built my life around being the provider, the protector, the planner. I thought love meant shielding someone, building a fortress around them, making them feel safe. But Sam? She wanted to set the fortress on fire just to watch the light dance in her eyes. Now, I understood the difference between love and ownership, between trust and blindness, between loyalty and fear. I didn't need revenge anymore. I needed peace. And slowly, I was finding it. I started traveling again. Real travel. No board meetings. No presentations. Just quiet places. Mountains. Waterfalls. Forests. I left my phone off. I let go. One afternoon in Iceland, I met someone. Her name was Leah. She didn't ask what I did. Didn't care about my suits or portfolio. She just handed me a cup of coffee, smiled, and said, "You look like a guy who's been carrying a war on his back. You can set it down now." I didn't fall in love, not right away. But for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I had to look over my shoulder. And that was everything. 6 months later, the past finally stopped chasing me. Not because I forgot. You don't forget betrayal that deep. You just stop bleeding from it. But by the time fall rolled around, I could breathe without feeling like I was inhaling ash. Leah had become a constant. She didn't ask about Samantha, though she knew. The story was out there. Anyone with a working phone could Google it. But she never brought it up. Never looked at me with pity or curiosity. Just listened when I wanted to talk and stayed quiet when I didn't. There was one night I remember. We were in Norway, sitting on the porch of this small cottage overlooking a frozen lake. I'd made us dinner, something simple, pasta and wine. And after we ate, I told her the whole story. All of it. How it started. What she did. The lies. The deal. The water. The sting. The madness that followed. I told her everything. Not because I needed forgiveness, but because I needed to finally let it go without choking on it. When I finished, she didn't flinch. Didn't offer cliches or soft reassurances. She just said, "I'm sorry she tried to turn your heart into a weapon." And somehow, that hit harder than anything. Because that's exactly what Sam had done. She made me question myself, my instincts, my worth. She made me believe I wasn't enough. Not as a man, not as a lover, not as a partner. And when someone you trust feeds you that kind of poison long enough, you start to drink it voluntarily. But not anymore. I flew back to New York at the end of November to handle some paperwork. My firm was doing better than ever. We'd recovered and expanded. I'd delegated more, trusted more, and somehow, the world didn't fall apart. Funny how that works. That trip, I walked past the building where Sam and I first met. It was being remodeled. Whole new structure. New name. New glass. New owners. I stood there for a while. Not nostalgic. Not bitter. Just still. Then I turned and kept walking. The city didn't feel like a graveyard anymore. It felt like something alive again. Like a place I could build in, not just remember. One afternoon, I got a letter. From her. Not an email. A real letter. Handwritten. No return address. It was short. 3 lines. "Marcus, I hope you found peace. I still haven't." I didn't respond. I never would. Because peace isn't something you send back in a sealed envelope. You earn it. Every damn day. And I was earning mine. With every step forward. Every time I didn't look back. Every time I let Leah take my hand and lead me toward a moment that had nothing to do with boardrooms, betrayal, or broken vows. Sometimes I still wake up with that old ache. The one that whispers, "She lied to you. She used you. You were a fool." But that voice is quieter now. Drowned out by better sounds. Like laughter. Like wind. Like her voice telling me, "You're not that man anymore." And she's right. I'm not. I survived a storm I never saw coming. I lost someone I thought I couldn't live without, and found out I could. Stronger. Smarter. Sharper. Not colder. Just more aware. If you're reading this, and you've been burned like I was, if you're sitting alone wondering how someone you loved could turn on you like that, here's what I can tell you. You don't get answers. You get scars. But scars fade. And one day, you'll meet someone who sees them and doesn't flinch. Someone who doesn't need you to explain your pain, because they know pain too. And when that happens, you'll stop seeing your past as a story of betrayal, and start seeing it as the beginning of your rebirth. Spring came early the following year. Leah and I had moved into a place just outside the city, somewhere quiet, with big windows and a backyard that smelled like pine. I kept one foot in the business world, but the other was finally planted in something real. Something human. I'd wake up to the sound of birds instead of email pings. No tension in my chest. No instinct to check security footage or refresh court documents. Just her, making coffee barefoot, humming a tune under her breath like she belonged there. Like I did too. I caught myself laughing more. Real laughter. Not that cold, corporate chuckle I used to fake at client dinners. But the kind that comes from somewhere you forgot even existed. That stupid, helpless kind of laugh you can't control. I hadn't felt that since long before Sam started pulling away. But healing isn't a straight line. There were still shadows. Like when I ran into one of Sam's old friends at a gala in Midtown. Her name was Becca, a sharp-tongued socialite who used to fawn over Sam like she was royalty. She cornered me near the bar, clutching a martini, leaning in too close. "She ruined you," she said, almost gleeful. "We all thought you'd be the one to wreck her. But she got you first." I didn't answer. Just raised my glass, smiled politely. But that night, the old feelings came back. Not longing. Not anger. Disgust. Disgust at how long I stayed blind. How many signs I ignored. How many late meetings I brushed off. How many nights I rolled over and pretended not to notice how cold her back felt next to mine. Leah saw it in my face when I came home. She didn't press. She just took my hand, pulled me into the kitchen, and made me sit while she played some ridiculous French jazz album she knew I liked. Then she danced, terribly, on purpose, until I cracked a smile. That was her power. Where Sam used silence as punishment, Leah used it as peace. Where Sam used her body to manipulate, Leah used her heart to heal. One evening in June, I got a call from a blocked number. I almost didn't answer, but something in my gut told me to pick up. Marcus. Her voice. I hadn't heard it in months. "Sam." She was quiet. Then, "I'm leaving the country. I thought you should know." "Why?" I asked. "Because everything here reminds me of what I broke. What I lost. I've applied for work overseas. I don't expect anything from you. I just needed to say it out loud." I didn't speak. She sighed. "I ruined a good man. I don't need forgiveness. I hope you found someone who sees you." "I did," I said simply. A pause. "Good," she whispered. "You deserve that." Then the line went dead. I stood there for a long moment. Not sad. Not relieved. Just finished. That was the last time I ever heard from Samantha Reed. She vanished from the papers. Her podcast died quietly. No more scandals. No more noise. Just a fading shadow in the rearview mirror of my life. I thought closure would be a moment. A slam of a door. A dramatic speech. But it wasn't. It was the absence of weight. It was being able to hear a name, or pass by a memory, and not feel like I'd been stabbed. It was Leah resting her head on my chest, and me not tensing up when someone touched me. It was the simple act of living again. So what did I learn? That love without loyalty is theater. That no amount of beauty or brilliance can compensate for a heart that's rotting inside. That silence can tell more truth than 1,000 apologies. And that the man you become after heartbreak is the man you should have been all along. Not softer, but wiser. Not colder, just harder to fool. And now? Now I live my life on my terms. No more saving people who wouldn't even slow down if I was the one drowning. No more building castles with people who only bring matches. Just quiet days, honest smiles, and the kind of love that doesn't need to be explained. That's enough for me. The last chapter of this story didn't come with fireworks. No grand announcements. No revenge encore. Just silence and peace. It's strange how healing sneaks up on you. Not like a wave, but more like a slow clearing of fog. One morning, you wake up and realize your chest doesn't feel tight anymore. You stop checking the time she used to come home. You pass that restaurant where she whispered lies over candlelight and feel nothing. And that nothing is everything. I married Leah last fall. It wasn't a big wedding. Just a handful of people who actually knew us. Who actually cared. We didn't exchange vows about eternity or perfection. We promised to show up for each other, even on the ugly days. Especially on the ugly days. When she walked toward me down that aisle, barefoot in the grass, smiling like the world hadn't already tried to break us both, I finally understood what real love looked like. It's not explosive. It's not dramatic. It's steady. It's kind. It doesn't need to conquer. It just stays. Sometimes, when I sit on the porch with Leah's head on my shoulder and the sun setting behind the trees, I think back to the man I used to be. The one who gave everything to someone who saw him as a stepping stone. The one who trusted too fast and doubted too late. He wasn't weak. He was just untested. But now I know. I know that betrayal doesn't define you. Your response to it does. I know that power without purpose is just ego. And I know that the real victory isn't in crushing the ones who broke you. It's in becoming someone they could never reach again. So if you're still in the fire, still trying to understand why someone you gave your heart to twisted it in their hands, hear this. You will survive. You will rebuild. And one day, you will love again. But not because you forgot what happened. Because you finally realized you deserved more than that mess in the first place. She became an investment banker. Her new husband threw water on me and mocked my worth. I canceled a $20 billion deal and watched their empire crumble. But in the end, none of that was the real win. The real win was getting my soul back.